what was that about grenades? You wanted to shoot more at a faster rate with even less concern for yourself? Well, today at Barron's New Vegas Gun Guides, we have just the gun for you. The grenade machine gun. A man-portable weapon that is the dream of so many warlords. Less dangerous to the user than a flamethrower, and more follow-up than a missile launcher. The grenade machine gun is the ultimate versatile man-portable weaponry capable of tackling anything from a single infantryman to light vehicles to even crippling and concussing heavier things capable of scoring mission kills. Although, I must admit that last one might be a stretch given that the grenade machine gun uses a different grenade than the ones previously talked about. Actually, of all the ammo we've talked about that exists up until now, the 25mm grenade used by the machine gun is the newest. Part of yet another experimental weapons program, the 25mm grenade was intended for full auto grenade suppression weapons. And like many experimental weapons programs from the 2000s, it was a bust. Over and over again has the semi-auto to full auto grenade rifle or machine gun with a smaller grenade type been tried, and it is simply too big and bulky for the soldier to carry, not to mention they tend to use advanced electronics in them, making them expensive and potentially unreliable. They're usually worth more to the government than the man itself that's carrying them. The first one was around 2004, the XM307, with the X standing for experimental, and it's the Advanced Crew Service Weapon. Unlike other future endeavors, it was a crew weapon, needing 2 men with an effective range to kill infantry of nearly 1¼ mile, and light vehicles out to about 1/6 of a mile. But it was beat to the punch by a far simpler weapon, the Mark 19, and the funding for the XM307 was lost in 2007. The Mark 19, on the other hand, using the high-velocity 40mm round, is a blowback-operated heavy machine gun that has been in use since the year 1968, in the very same Vietnam War that saw the cartridge for the first time. It can reach that same 1¼ mile range at an impressive 60 rounds per minute in a quick burst, or 40 rounds of sustained fire per minute, while still proving very deadly to light vehicles at that range. Now, the gun itself can fire about 350 rounds per minute, but reloading and aiming do cut that down. Still, the weapon can lay down a large amount of explosives in very short order, and the 40mm grenade size can be much more versatile than the 25mm. Now, the grenade machine gun does take more after this XM307, with a huge terminal attached to the weapon, in theory to provide some level of on-the-fly airburst capability, or simply timing changes for the grenades on the fly requiring more operator adjustment than the more high-tech real-life version. Either way, it utilizes these smaller grenades at much shorter ranges to turn enemies into hamburger. Given that the main purpose of the 25mm grenade was the airburst capability, it should be no surprise that in 2014, development started to make the 40mm grenade have an airburst round. Now, the weapon that most closely resembles the grenade machine gun is actually based on the Chinese QL-87, which is a 35mm grenade launcher, more like the Mark 19. But its bare-bones look heavily inspired the grenade machine gun, and the QLZ TAC-87 is an actual man-portable weapon, as opposed to the Mark 19, which weighs 77 pounds on its lonesome. For damage, the smaller grenades are obviously smaller, and they do less damage than the big 40mm grenades, and that traditional wisdom does hold quite true. At half the explosive power with 50 damage and no impact damage in a 550 unit radius. While it is half damage, it isn't half the radius, making them quite good at clearing an approaching horde with only a little fear for your own life. It also fires faster than the Mark 19, and at least in practice, with 3 shots per second or 90 grenades a minute, and it takes 10 seconds to empty the 30-round magazine. The DPS is an easy 150 with a sustained DPS of 107.1, easily the highest of the grenades, and enough that the engine sometimes can't take it with improved explosion graphics. Taking only 4 seconds to reload the full magazine using back-pack grenade pack, it is ready and back in action after only a slightly longer delay than the other 2 grenade launchers. And with the same spread of 1, there's nothing too unfamiliar about this weapon. VATS is expensive at 50 AP, however, while only firing 1 round, making it a efficiency of 1. But considering the true purpose of this gun, there is less reason to use it in VATS so lightly, as it does use slightly cheaper grenades. As a heavy weapon, it has no iron sights, but the terminal, which displays bash script for the nerds out there, is a fundamental piece of Linux and still used today, 36 years after its 1989 release, which doesn't help you aim better, but is at least a fun fact to use it. As for the requirements, it is a big gun, and a complicated one. It requires 8 strength and 100 explosives, which is a heavy investment compared to the other explosive launchers so far. But for the future weapons, they're going to be heavy weapons, so having that high of a strength requirement is expected. At a relatively light 15 weight, it is less than some rifles and comparable to the energy-heavy weapons like the Flamer, and it's barely more than the missile launcher. It can easily be the mainstay of an arsenal due to the smaller blast radius, reducing self-inflicted damage. And for a price of only 5,200 caps, which is only 1,000 caps more than the launcher, you get a gun with double the load time, but 8.5 times the magazine. Easily a good deal for the strong couriers among you. But there is just a single mod for the grenade machine gun, the high-speed kit, which adds yet another computer to the weapon and has the effect of increasing the rate of fire by 50%. This does make the rate of fire 4.5 a second or 135 shots a minute, meaning it empties that magazine in less than 7 seconds and increases the DPS to 225 before reloading is taken into account. It isn't a mod that is necessary like many, but with a durability of 1,995 shots before breaking, it means the money is well spent. Now the most unfortunate thing about the weapon is that it can only be repaired with merchants, or repair kits, or other grenade machine guns. But with the amount of damage it can dish out in a relatively short time, it is a small price to pay. Now interestingly enough, from some preliminary testing, explosion damage isn't affected by weapon durability, so by simple durability it dishes out more damage than any of the other grenade launchers. Now the ammo is a new one, as we talked about before. It is the 25mm grenades coming in packs, looking like the backpack the courier wears when using the weapon. Like the 40mm grenades, it is a versatile warhead, but in the base Mojave, there's only standard and high explosives. At 8 caps for the standard round, they are way cheaper than other explosives, but not quite half price versus the 40mm grenades, meaning there is less damage per shot, but then again 50 damage is still a heavy amount, especially fired so fast, against only which tough targets does it falter. But the high explosive is actually more expensive than the special incendiary 40mm grenade, at 20 caps per round, which is only barely less than dynamite. But it does 36% more damage than the base round and a 36% greater radius, making it one way to have the grenade machine gun more like a 40mm launcher, which would be fantastic if it wasn't for the unique grenade machine gun. This unique variant, by the name of Mercy, is probably one of the most guarded unique weapons in the game, requiring the slaughter of about a dozen Deathclaws in close confines, including a Mother and Legendary Deathclaw, and that doesn't even include the number on the outside that also protects this grenade machine gun. A unique among uniques, Mercy is a rechambered grenade machine gun, with a larger barrel that in fact fires 40mm grenades in a full auto fashion. This adds 5 points of impact damage and doubles the explosive damage to 100, and the radius goes back up to 750 units that you've come to expect of the 40mm grenade. This obviously changes the ammo type to the standard 40mm, and the incendiary as its special backup. But at 18 rounds in the magazine, it is far more than other launchers of the same grenade type, and still has more damage in its magazine than the normal grenade machine gun. It can't be modded, but its fire rate is 3.1 shots per second, slightly more than the base vanilla grenade machine gun. And despite the rust on it, it is even more durable at 2,495 shots. This is the ultimate grenade launching weapon if it weren't for the somewhat slow projectile speed which limits the range significantly on all grenade machine guns. At times it can feel like you're spitting the grenades, but proper use of this weapon can depopulate cities in an afternoon without any danger. Now, for those that need a normal grenade machine gun in order to get to Mercy, the best place to get them is the Nellis Air Force Base. But Mick and Ralph, Crimson Caravan Blake, and Hoover Dam's Barden, along with Hidden Valley Knight Torres, and finally the arms merchant at the 188 trading post, can all possibly sell them. But the best bet is always Nellis. Much like the launcher, there is really only merchants for this weapon, with Mercy being the only world spawn for it. In conclusion, the grenade machine gun is a deceptively light, extremely powerful, and one of the harder explosive weapons to kill yourself with until you get Mercy. With the option of both 25mm and 40mm grenades, once you obtain Mercy, it can use all the grenades in your bag. One of my least used but often admired weapons, an alert courier can use it to stop any threat before it gets too close and becomes an even bigger one. Like all explosives, it is completely useless against enemies in your face, but no one expects the rain of fire to come from a stealth field. And if you have good enough armor, the 25mm grenade machine gun can still be used at very close range.